Okay, so looks like our live stream is working. We'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers, and we're going to get started with the Pardon Advisory Board's December meeting. I am going to introduce the rest of the board, and then I'll go through a few housekeeping notes about how the hearing will go today, and then we'll get started hearing from our applicants. So if you're just joining us, if you can make sure that you are muted while we introduce folks, we will go ahead and get going. We have the full Governor's Pardon Advisory Board with us today, so I'll introduce my fellow board members. We have Mr. Anthony Cooper Sr., who is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He received a pardon from Governor Evers in January of 2021. We have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. We have Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is Attorney General Josh Call's nominee to this board. He served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, including serving as chief judge for 7 of those years, and he retired in 2018. We have Reverend John McVicker Sr., who is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He also serves as a board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. Cindy O'Donnell served as the deputy secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as the division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. Board member Nadia Perez-Reyes is the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Children and Families, and she previously worked as a public defender and as an attorney for Legal Action of Wisconsin. Board member Myrna Warrington is the Director of Vocational Rehabilitation on the Menominee Indian Reservation. Ms. Warrington is a U.S. Army veteran and has been a member of the Menominee Tribal Legislature for over 15 years. And we have board member Noble Ray, who served as the Madison Police Department, with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years, including as chief of police from 2004 to 2013. Ray led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the nation and the world. Those are our board members, and before we get started hearing from folks, I will just do some quick housekeeping announcements so that we can keep the hearing running smoothly today. As you've probably noticed, we are streaming the hearing live on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. We'll ask you to mute yourself and keep your video off until it is your turn to be heard by the board. That just helps us ensure that we can hear everybody and that the board can focus on the person who is currently speaking. If you do run into any IT issues with the Zoom, don't worry. Someone from the team will give you a call and we'll sort it out. If we need to come back to you because Zoom isn't working when it's your turn, we will certainly do that. We will call people up on the order listed in the open meetings notice. You'll notice there are some chunks of time set aside. We will keep going until we get to the end of that agenda item, but if you are listed in the next, we won't start before the time that you're listed. So if needed, we'll take a short break. Once we call you up to be heard by the board, you'll have about 5 minutes total. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 minutes about answering the questions that were provided to you in advance so that we have a couple of minutes to also ask any questions that the board may have for you. So as a reminder, the questions you'll be answering during those first 3 minutes are a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement, employment, anything else you think we should know. And finally, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you believe the governor should grant you one. So once you've answered those questions for us, the board may or may not have questions for you. Don't read too much into it either way. Sometimes your application materials have just answered everything for us already, but we want to make sure we get all the information we need. So we'll ask questions as needed. And then once you're done answering questions from the board, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. You don't need to hang out with us all day by any means. And then once everyone has been heard, the board will meet in closed session to decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order to have your application sent to the governor. The governor will either accept or reject your application, and you will hear from our office in about a month or two about the outcome of your application either way. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started hearing from our first applicant. First up today is Mr. Joseph Herfield. Mr. Herfield, if you're on the Zoom, I see you. All right, looks like you're unmuted and ready to go. Please take it away.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What I did 30 years ago, I was arrested with marijuana. I served 3 years probation. I believe I did 30 days in jail. From that point on, I joined the union. I've been a union worker for the last 27 years of the local 140. I just recently switched unions to the 139 operating engineers. I have a 3-year-old daughter that I would like to be able to take hunting and fishing, and also, I guess where my felonies affected me, I wasn't able to work on a federal job at one point, so I received an early layoff. And I guess that I'd like to be pardoned, I guess, just to offer her more, and not have to explain that Dad was a felon.
Thanks, Mr. Herfield. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Herfield, the Vernon County judge who reviewed your pardon application supports your application. How does that make you feel?
It feels good. And in my letters that I had written also, the sheriff at the time said I deserve this. And Jeffrey Bana, he asked me just a few weeks ago, hang tough, stuff will work out.
And he actually wrote the criminal complaint when you were arrested, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Herfield, thank you very much for sharing with us today and appearing before the board. As I said, you're welcome to sign off the Zoom and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Mr. Scott Linka. I know I saw Mr. Linka on the Zoom. Mr. Linka, if you can unmute and turn on your video, we're ready to hear from you.
Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, back in the summer of 1973, I was working as a mechanic at Stark Oldsmobile. They had a 71 Barracuda that I was interested in purchasing. I couldn't find the money. So at a spur of the moment, I took the spare set of keys and drove it off the lot. I was later in an accident. I was arrested, made a full confession. I forget the dates, but I pleaded no contest. I received 2 years probation and I pay restitution of $1,800. I paid that. In 76, I was released off probation. I moved to California. I got involved with aviation. In 86, I hired on with United Airlines. 32 years later, I retired with full benefits and a full pension. The reason I would like the pardon is I like to travel internationally now that I have flying benefits. There's a lot of countries that I can't visit. And also, I like to do a lot of volunteering at local dog shelters, but I wouldn't pass a background check. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linka. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock?
Mr. Linka, we get a lot of letters of support for people applying for pardons, but there was something in one of your letters that was very unusual. One of your neighbors wrote Jessica Barkley and said that she was so nervous to fly when she was pregnant that you personally inspected her plane and met her at the gate and said that it was perfectly safe. And she was so grateful for that. Do you remember that incident?
Oh, yeah. She's a real sweetheart of a woman, but she worked for an international hotel conglomerate and she had to do a lot of traveling and she hated flying. And working for airlines, you have rotating shifts. And I was working that Sunday, she was flying out. And I met her at the gate. I looked at the plane and I reassured her. And I'll tell you, there were about 4 or 5 people around her that were pretty relieved too. And, you know, it's just a neighborly thing to do because I had the access to the aircraft. I'm also the local neighborhood handyman. I help people out. I've changed toilets, water heaters. I work on people's cars. It's just what I do.
Well, it was a very unusual letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Mr. Walenka? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Walenka. You're welcome to enjoy the rest of your morning, and thanks for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for your time.
Next up is Mr. Daniel Talbot. Mr. Talbot, if you can unmute and turn on your video, we're ready to hear from you.
Damn.
Mr. Talbot, do we have you in the Zoom? I see a phone for 715. Mr. Talbot, is that number you? Okay, we'll see if we can figure that out and come back to Mr. Talbot when our tech is working. All right, then we will move to Mr. Lamont Rogers. Mr. Rogers, I know I saw you. There we go. We can see you. We can't yet hear you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Perfect. Go ahead.
All right, how y'all doing? All right. Well, basically, in 2010, I was going to college in Oshkosh. I went there for football. Me and 4 other guys, we stayed in a big football house, and we was kind of the house that always had the parties and everything. So me being the only one working at the time, I was the one who collected all the money, all the funds. And long story short, we went on winter vacation and I kept my rent money and everything inside my room. My friends threw a party while I was gone, didn't know who threw the party. No one actually told me what happened. And my money ended up coming missing. Me not being smart, I just blamed everybody who was in the house. Went back to the house. I took their most important belongings. I took their stuff and told them they're not getting it back until they paid me my money, which was very inconsiderate. That's when police came to my house and actually asked for everything back, gave everything back, but I still was hit with a felony theft. It was trying to hit me with burglary, but it was my house. I didn't kick any doors in. I didn't do anything malicious. I just took their things. So that's what happened. And then from there, after that, I was given 3 years of probation. And I was told that if I had no police contact after 6 years of that probation, I would be granted expungement, which I did complete that. And basically what I've done since that was right, like the day of me leaving the probation office, that's when I just decided to change my whole life around. I got me a job working at Pepsi. I was just doing like basically labor work. From there on, went to do construction at MATC. 2014, I had my first child, was my daughter, which that's what completely changed my life. And then 2016 is when I started volunteering at Hawthorne Elementary School, doing basketball and coaching football as well. From there on, I ended up getting me a job working at Milwaukee College Prep, which I currently do now as a janitorial work. But before that, I was doing security work for Wisconsin Protective Services, which I was actually able to have my security license at the time. But I believe a law changed, which I received a letter in the mail where they stripped me from everything. I couldn't even, I had actually had to get my CCWs back as well. So that's my main thing of asking for the pardon, because the reason why I went to school was for criminal justice. My main thing that I consider not work is something I enjoy doing. It's like security work, protecting and serving. And that's just something I want to get back into, because now when I went to apply for another job, my background check, expungement, it still comes up. So it's just something that's slowing me down. I just like to provide more for my family with a job that I actually enjoy doing.
Thanks, Mr. Rogers. Before we get to other board questions, I have one for you, which is around the same time as this felony, there is a temporary restraining order that comes up. Was that related to the same incidents with your roommates, or was that something else?
No, that was something else. I was involved with a girl back in maybe 2014. It was just something petty we both was going through. It was tit for tat stuff. There was nothing serious, malicious, but that did get wiped away as well.
Okay, so you had a restraining order, but then it wasn't, she didn't seek to extend it. Is that right?
No.
Got it. Okay. Other questions from board members? Noble?
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. Did you indicate that you had an expungement?
Yes, I did. Because they said if I...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, has the expungement helped you in any way in terms of being able to get a job, locate a job, get the type of position you wanted?
Most definitely. I don't even think I'll be able to get the job at Milwaukee College Prep if it wasn't for the expungement, because like I said, it doesn't show up when you search it, but like when you go do a deep federal background, that's when it comes up. So yes, the expungement really did help. Yeah, thank you.
I saw a couple other questions. Reverend Hancock?
Mr. Rogers, the district attorney in Winnebago County reviewed your application and they support it. How does that make you feel?
Hey man, that's a great feeling, man. That's because that's where I kind of told my triple at in Winnebago, if you guys noticed. So that's a great feeling coming from them guys.
Excellent. Judge Kremers, I saw your hand.
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, in 2007, you were convicted of a battery. What was that about?
It was a fight in front of campus. Me and my roommates was walking back to our dorm room, followed by a pack full of guys, champing out some stuff. We get in front of the campus. Everyone got into a fight. I just so happened to be the one who get caught. I didn't run. I stayed there because I wanted to tell my side of the story. But I was the one who got the ticket. Everybody else was able to escape free. So that's what happened with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rogers? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Rogers. We really appreciate your time today and being with the board. As you've heard me say, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom for the rest of the morning. You're free to enjoy your day.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. And I believe we have Mr. Talbot back now. We've sorted out his phone issues. So Mr. Talbot, if you are able to hear us, please go ahead and unmute.
Good morning.
Good morning. We'll turn it over to you.
Basically I'm calling because in the 90s I had a felony conviction for failure to appear, and for that I got some jail time and some probation, which I successfully completed, and since then I've been gainfully employed for 30 years as a lumber inspector, and I've recently switched to farming. I've owned several businesses and properties, and I guess the crown jewel of my life is 3 kids that I raised and put through college and tech schools and what have you. And basically, I'd like a pardon just to feel whole again and person, don't have a stain on my life, you know. It's different. It's a whole different feeling to feel like a less than a person. And I guess that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. We'll see if the board members have questions for you, and it looks like Cindy does. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Talbot. As part of the
Good morning.
application process, it's not required, but people are encouraged to submit letters of support, and you did not submit any. Can you tell us why not?
Because I'm quite ashamed of my record, and none of my employers or anyone I really know that I'm a felon, including my children. So in order for me to do that, I would have to explain myself to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other board members, any questions for Mr. Talbot? All right, looks like none. Mr. Talbot, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. As I think you've probably heard me tell others, you're welcome to sign off and enjoy the rest of your day. And you can expect to hear from our office in about a month or two on the outcome of today's hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Ms. Crystal Jones. I believe I saw it on the Zoom. There we go. Ms. Jones, we'll turn it over to you.
Hi, how are everybody doing today? So basically 2011 and 2013, I was arrested for retail theft. I had a lot of devastating obstacles I went through. Mom not really having it, dad not really being in my life. So I was hanging around groups of kids, you know, having fun, doing what they was doing. When I was 18, I graduated from high school. 19, I had met my ex-best friend, and she was like, her family was family oriented. You know, they did things that I couldn't do with my family. They had, you know, money. She had a car at 18, so that was somebody that I was hanging around. She was, at the time, she was like returning merchandise and stuff, so she would pay me to return merchandise for her. After that, we would go in the stores and get merchandise from like TJ Maxx and Boston store, stuff like that. That's when I got arrested for my first felony in 2011. I had got sentenced to 2 years probation. After that, 2013, that's when I caught my other felony for retail theft. I had got 18 months in a state prison. At that time, I was able to think about like the hurt and pain that my family was going through. They always told me that. They always told me to stop hanging with her, but that was somebody that was like giving me money. I never had a job before, so she was like providing for me in a lot of different ways, paying phone bills, letting me stay with her, and things like that. So 2015, I cut off all ties with her. Got my first job at Wendy's. 2018, I got my forklift license. I wanted to get my CNA license, but I was a felon, wasn't able to do so. But I still got my CBRF license. I had 2020, I had applied for an optical at Vision Mart. Now I'm a store manager. I was a technician at first, went from a technician to a lead tech. Now I'm a regional store manager. Been a store manager for about 2 years now. Just recently got my CDL license, October 1st. I recently just got an offer with the city of Milwaukee as an equipment operator. So I just want the pardon so I can provide more for my family. I want to drive the semi truck around country, and you know, I want to explore more, travel more. I can't really go out the country because I'm a felon, but I want to take my first trip out the country, you know. So a lot of countries don't accept felons. So I'm engaged now. I have a son now, so it's a lot of things I want to explore more, but I can't really do it because I'm a felon.
Thanks, Ms. Jones. One question for me before I turn over to the rest of the board. It looks like you had an arrest in 2022 that was dismissed. The charges were
Yeah.
dismissed. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about what happened there?
Sure. My fiance's son was acting bad at school. Her mother went up there to get him, and I was currently at work. So she called me like 5 times. I'm thinking something wrong. So I had to leave work to go up to the school. It took him 2 hours to come out. It was after school hours. So it was around like 4 o'clock. He hiding in the school. So when I got there, he came out. It took me like an hour to get him out. We had to cut off all the lights, lock all the doors because he was hiding. So I brought him back to my house, and I made him do like workouts. I was making him do squats and stuff like that for being bad. So his mom came. I had him doing squats. And then the neighbors in the house heard him screaming, kids over. It was hurting him, but he was over dramatic. He was screaming, crying. So my neighbor across heard him crying, called the police. They said that that he was getting abused. So I got arrested because I was the one that did it. CPS came, take pictures. They didn't find anything. So I was really in jail for 2 days just for under investigation. That was it. They didn't find like no marks or bruises or anything.
Got it. Thank you. Other questions from board members for Ms. Jones? Judge Kremers.
Good morning, Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones, I'm trying to understand the sequence here. And the first felony was 2011, and you got looks like a year of confinement. And then in 2012, you had the felony bail jumping, and you got 2 years probation. And then in 2013, you got the next felony. In 2014, you were revoked, however. So I'm guessing you were revoked on the bail jumping charge as a result of being convicted on the 2013. But then in 2016, you were revoked again and spent time in the county jail. Is that right?
No, I don't know. That's not
You got
right.
revoked twice?
No, I only got revoked once. I'd never been back to jail after 2015.
So you were released in 2015. You haven't been back?
Yes. No.
Okay. And I guess that was the only question I had. Thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Jones? Cindy.
Yeah. Ms. Jones, you heard me ask the last applicant this question, but you also did not submit any letters of support. And
I did. I have sent, yes, I have them all in my email. If you would like to look at them, I have 4 letters that I sent in.
Cindy, she submitted them last night, so they should be in the Dropbox.
Last night.
I apologize, for the...
No, that's fine. We'll take a look at them. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
You're welcome.
Board members, any other questions? All right. Thanks very much, Ms. Jones. Really appreciate you being here and speaking with us today, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
Thank you. All right. Our next applicant is Mr. Jaramillo, who I believe I also saw. There we go. All right, Mr. Jaramillo, we can't see you. It looks like you're unmuted, but are you able to share on your video? There we go.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Okay, if it's okay, I wrote down a statement. This is sometimes difficult for me to articulate as it is a very sensitive subject, and has been for the entirety of since I've had this, right? So if you all don't mind, I will read my statement. Good morning all, and thank you first and foremost for the opportunity to share my story and hopefully your recommendation for pardon. It was back in 1992 when I, along with several other misguided individuals, while hanging out in what seemed an abandoned warehouse, came across some musical equipment, which we eventually stole. In hindsight, I see the emotional effect my actions caused on the owner of the property, given the hard work and sacrifice it must have taken this individual to acquire them. For that, I am truly sorry. And now that I'm, I'm a working individual, I understand the cost of things and the sacrifice it sometimes takes to, acquire, belongings. For this crime, and per my conviction, which was felony burglary party to a crime, I spent 90 days in house arrest and 3 years probation. Along with that, I paid the restitution that I was responsible for. As I prefaced earlier, I was young and misguided, no male or father figure to direct me through the difficult times that I was going through at that time, and would continue to go through early in my young adulthood and early life. So, for the most part, my feelings of abandonment and misdirection, I think, were the catalyst to me straying in the wrong direction, throughout that period of time in my life. My life took a significant change for the best when I met my wife and had our son. It was a perfect opportunity for to be there for him as I wish someone would have been there for me. I'm proud to say my son is a very productive, law-abiding member of the society. He's applied for several of the law enforcement departments in Milwaukee and has been offered positions, but currently is going through the Milwaukee Fire Department. Since then, I have grown professionally and worked in several management / leadership roles. As part of my leadership, I have served as a mentor to many young men and women, helping them acquire not only professional skills that will help them in their career, but also in life. I have also volunteered my time and labor at one of the local church festivals here in Milwaukee, as well as my recent volunteer work at the Hope House Food Bank. In 2022, I enrolled in a business management course and currently looking at other certifications that I can attain to help me along with my career. I would, I'd like a pardon just to lift this black stain on my dark stain on my life, this that I've carried with me and shame, and have always felt less than for my actions. And I'd like to be able to get bonded and venture into management in retail capacities and things of that nature.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Jerry?
The judge in Milwaukee County who reviewed your pardon application supports it. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good. It makes me have faith in humanity, that people are able to understand that what you might have done in the past doesn't dictate who you are in the present or who you could be in the future. Not many people look beyond that or look at it that way. So I'm very grateful that I have their support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Connors?
Morning, sir. According to the records that we saw, it looked like you still owed about $1,900 in restitution at the time of your discharge from probation. Has that been paid?
Yes, as far as I know, yes. I mean, that was 30 years ago, but yes, I'm 100% positive that I paid it off.
Okay, so as far as you know, there are no liens against you
Nothing, no liens.
Have you bought a house in the last 30 years?
Uh,
A mortgage?
yes, we owned a home back in the early 2000s, and you know, gave it up in 2008. You know, as just like many other people got themselves underwater. But we did own a home at one point.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Cindy?
Just to follow on that, it looks like you were ordered to pay the restitution jointly and severally. So there were multiple people involved
Yes.
in this.
Yeah.
So according to, did the others pay some, and do you know what you paid?
I have no idea
Okay.
what they paid. That was the last time I ever saw those individuals. You know,
Yeah.
As I stated earlier, you know, I have no later after that happened. I met my wife. We had our son, and you know, I steered away from those individuals. I know for certain I paid somewhere along the line of anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000, if I can, you know, think back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jaramillo? Nope. All right. Thank you very much. You're welcome to go enjoy the rest of your morning, and we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with the board today.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you. Next up is Mr. Frank Goldbach. Mr. Goldbach, you can unmute and turn on your video if you're able.
Hi.
Here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to say, thank you for taking time to do my request for a pardon. I received a drunk driving and stealing a vehicle in 1995. I ended up crashing the vehicle a short distance, and when I took this vehicle, I received fines, restitution, jail time. It was tough for me to sit so long for a period of time. I felt very alone. I wasn't able to see my first oldest son, Tyler. But I, Frank Goldbach, admit I chose a bad life decision, and still to this day, I regret what I did. Time that isn't able to get back from spending time with my child, family, friends, as I sat in jail. But as life went on, I also did tasks and presented myself. I grew positive, strong. I put myself on a good track with the help of my friends, family, good people in general. And I started a family of my own. I put myself in a line of fire for others as I became a volunteer fireman for the town of Clyman, Wisconsin, where I lived, where I made a life with my kids and family, my daughter, Courtney, my youngest son, Frank Jr. I stayed steadily working, and I am now in the medical field for over 2 years. I gave support to my kids as they are going to succeed as well through their life. I showed them that being in jail isn't a good thing. One is graduated from the school on the medical assistant up in Hartford, Wisconsin. And my youngest son is a junior in school in Juneau. But with my accomplishments, I would like to receive a pardon. I received a better life for myself, my kids, and I have helped my family as I'm able to. It has been a hard road, but I've been very successful. One of the last things I would like to say is having my accomplishment is to remove my felony to show my kids that if you work hard enough and keep out of trouble, we can succeed.
Thank you, Mr. Goldbach. Questions from the board? Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Goldbach. I have two questions. You mentioned when you completed your pardon application, you asked for the pardon because of work in the transportation field, but I think you just said you now work in the medical field?
Well, I run the shop here at my medical field, but I still transport.
Okay. What do you do in the medical field?
I drive people to appointments.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. My second question, it looks like you had a disorderly conduct in Dodge County in 1999. What was that about?
I don't remember that. Disorderly conduct. Nope. I remember being picked up one time for oh, 99. I don't remember that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Goldbach? Judge Cremers.
Morning, sir. So you were convicted of OWI third back in 1995, but same time as this take and drive without consent. I'm guessing part of the same incident, but what have you done since then with respect to drinking or sobriety?
I don't.
When did you stop drinking?
Literally when I talked to when I was put on probation, I talked with my PO, and I respect everything he said to me, because literally he said I have more authority than police. Stop. He goes, you'll have a nice life, but if you don't, he goes, that's make your life horrible. So I took it and I said, just stop doing what I ever did. And I moved on, and I haven't had that kind of trouble in 20 years. I haven't had nothing that I created a new life for myself.
So you stopped drinking, and so you've been sober since
I've been sober
1995?
since.
Okay, and you did that without any treatment? Did you
Huh?
go through AODA
I
program?
went through counseling. Yes, I did.
Okay.
And it helped. I met a good group of people. That's how it is, and most of the people that counsel you are people that were drinking, and they became a better life to help you out, to provide the information that, hey, I'm glad you chose that life.
Good for you. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Goldbach? All right. Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Goldbach. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Done then?
Uh,
Or stay on?
Oh, you can go. Yep. No
Okay.
need to hang out on the Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Ral Morgan, who I know I saw. Mr. Morgan, we'll turn it over to you.
How you doing, ma'am? My name is Ral Morgan. It was either 1994 or 1996. As a young man, from a single family home, I made some mistakes that cost me. Made some mistakes as a young man that I still pay for as an older gentleman today. And I have a son of my own that I'm trying to be a positive example to. Being in a felony status is a hindrance to your life. Now, I've been a model, what you would consider a model citizen. I pay my taxes, I pay all my bills, I have an 800 credit score. I have this felony charge on me, and that's not who I am today. So I always wanted in my mind to get this taken care of. One mistake in my life, done this. I've never been in trouble with the law since, as you can see it in the record. But as an older gentleman, I could have just let it sit, but I want to be able to be a positive role model to my son. So I'm taking steps to, clear this up for me, because this is one thing it's embarrassing to be in this status too. I'm an excellent father. I'm an excellent husband, but I have this stain that my family don't hold it against me, but it's just something I like to address. I don't like it. So I just thought I filled out the application to take steps to get this off my record.
Thanks, Mr. Morgan. Before I turn it over to other folks for questions, could you just tell us a little bit more about your offense? I know that you were a young man at the time. Can you tell us a little bit
I
about
hardly remember, but it was insurance fraud. It was theft. Actually, what happened was my car was vandalized, but I took it. They only, I said they took out more than what they did, but I actually did get vandalized. But I said that they took out more than they did, and I got in trouble for that, and I'm still paying for that this day. So that's what it was. It was a theft. My car was vandalized, and I said that they took out more than they really did, and that was the worst mistake I've made in my life. If I can take that back, I would have just left it alone. But you, as a young man struggling, you do things that you don't realize that can affect the rest of your life.
Got it. Okay, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear on kind of the sequence here. What it said in your application that your stereo was stolen, but then also that you reported your car stolen. Could you?
No, other equipment, other equipment other than just the stereo. Other equipment and just the stereo.
Got it. Other board members, questions for Mr. Morgan? Judge Kremers.
Okay, so we need to go back to this crime a little bit, because the way I read the complaint, what happened was your car was at a dealership for repairs, and you stole it from the dealership. Didn't steal it from the dealership. You took it from the dealership because you had a set of keys, obviously. According to you, it had been vandalized at the car dealership, but then you took the car and then reported the entire car was stolen. And on a separate occasion, you also reported that stereo equipment had been stolen from the car, and ultimately that equipment, you had taken that equipment from the car and had it at your house, but claimed that that was stolen from the car. So there are really two kind of incidents here, right? Do I have that right?
I'm the dealership. I vaguely remember the dealership, but I do. That was a question of being overcharged. But what I got in trouble for was from the equipment at the home. That was what I got in trouble for. That's how I end up in felony status. I forgot all about the dealership part.
You put in a claim with the insurance company for $6,200.88 that they were going to pay you for your stolen car, but then the car was found and you acknowledged putting the car there and did remove some tires and things. But
yes, I did that.
All right, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Morgan?
It's been so, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's been so long. I vaguely remember the whole incident. I vaguely remember that stuff.
Yeah, we understand, Mr. Morgan, this is in the 90s, so we understand that's been a long time. Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Morgan,
yes.
The judge in Milwaukee County who reviewed your application supports it. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel great. I've followed the straight and narrow path ever since.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Morgan? All right. Mr. Morgan, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. Appreciate everything that you shared with us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, and then our last applicant for this first morning block is Mr. Scott Gsof, who I believe I saw. There we go.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. We'll turn it over to you.
I got in trouble in 2004 for THC manufacturing and delivery. I was living with my girlfriend in the town, and I was a younger fella, and I always wanted more for myself. So I was ambitious, I guess you could say, and I let my dealer live with me because he was out, and I looked at it as an opening to get free weed. And it ended up turning south, and he was not a great guy. I was 19 years old. I made stupid decisions, but I ended up getting the house got raided, got in trouble, and I pretty much took all the blame because I didn't want my girlfriend to get in any trouble because everything was under her name. So I took responsibility for everything, and I just didn't want her to get in any trouble. I was been with her since I was 15, and we're still married to this day. I knew I was going to marry her, so I just wanted her record to be clean, and it was totally my fault. But I served the 60 days and did the probation and everything, and I did my time, and I regret it to this day. It's changed me ever since. I haven't smoked weed since. When I was incarcerated, I quit smoking cigarettes, and I haven't smoked cigarettes since. We moved to Nebraska for 5 years just to get away from the fast-paced life. We moved to a county that had more cows than people in it, so it was really a reality check to what you need and what you want in life, and it was a great thing. Moved back to Wisconsin because I have family here, and I realized that the one thing that you can't get back in life is time, and time with your family especially. So I made it a point in my life to be a part of my family and be a part of my church. We go to CLF in Port Edwards, and my pastor is Jeff O'Connor, and he does a lot of missions trips and stuff like that to Peru. I kind of skipped. I'm a construction worker. I do contracting for a living. I've been doing it for the last 20 years, and I'm really good at it. And they do stuff overseas in like Peru for orphanages, and they build things for people. I always thought that was kind of cool, and I wanted to do. I'm not a very smart guy, but I'm pretty handy. So if I can give back in any way, at least I can give back with my talents. You obviously need a passport, which I have a felony, so I can't go. I haven't looked in it too deep. I mean, maybe there's some things you can jump around to do it, but I just figured I couldn't because I have a felony. I would like to go deer hunting again sometime. I have a son that's 19 years old, and my wife graciously took hunter safety to take him hunting for his first time because I think that kind of stuff teaches you good morals and ethics and values all aspects of life. Really, you appreciate what you do, and I guess very cautiously about it. Patience. I am pretty heavily into the BMX scene around our track area here. It's kind of a great thing because I can get involved with kids and help the less fortunate ones to be a better person. You take them off to the side, and you can teach them life skills through sports, which I've always thought was a great thing. I've been 4 years sober from alcohol. And it's a great thing. I mean, living life with zero addictions is amazing. Your focus goes towards so many other things. It's crazy. And especially after 2020, you get a different reality on life and the way things should be and they want to be. So I guess I'm just looking for a pardon to, I guess, make my next 30 years better for other people. I haven't let this felony hinder me in any way since I've gotten it. I live a great life. I have a great business. I'm not ashamed of it because it is something I have done, but I don't know, like I said, my next 30 years, I would like to be a little different, be able to do different things. So I guess that's why I'm asking for a pardon.
Thanks, Mr. Gsof. Appreciate that. Any questions from board members? Nope. All right. I think that covered everything from us. Really appreciate your time and hope you enjoy the rest of the morning. As I mentioned to other applicants, you can expect to hear from the office in about a month or two about the outcome. Thank you.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so we have our next set of applicants starting at 10 o'clock. We'll wait until that time to make sure that everyone has a chance to show up and log into the meeting. So board members, we'll take a break, but I will ask you to be back a couple minutes before 10 o'clock so that we can start promptly at 10. Any applicants who are in the Zoom, you're welcome to just hang out here on mute, but you are also welcome to log off and come back at 10 o'clock. We'll pick back up then. Thank you.
Working?
Good morning, folks. If you're just joining the Zoom, we took a quick break. We'll be picking back up right at 10 o'clock, so you can continue to hang out. Thank you for your patience. Good morning, everyone. If you're just joining us, we're going to get started in just a couple minutes here with our next group of pardon applicants. Before we dive in, I will just quickly go through some housekeeping items and reintroduce our board members. As you're in the Zoom today, please just remember that the hearing is being live streamed on both Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. So we'll ask you to mute yourself and turn off your camera until it's your turn to be heard by the board. That just allows us to keep the audio quality top notch and make sure that the board can focus on the person who is speaking. If you do run into any IT issues, don't worry. Someone from the team will reach out to you and we'll get it sorted out. If we need to come back to you because Zoom isn't working when it's your turn, we'll just go ahead and come back to you. We'll go through applicants in the order listed on the open meetings notice agenda. Everyone will have about 5 minutes total. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 minutes answering the questions that were provided to you in advance. And then the last 2 minutes, we'll see if the board members have any questions for you. Don't read into it too much if there are questions or not. Sometimes everything is just answered by your application, but we want to make sure that the board has all the info needed to consider your application for a pardon. So as a reminder, those 3 questions that we're going to ask you to answer in the first 3 minutes that you're presenting to the board are just a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement, employment, anything else you want to speak to there, and then a brief summary of why you're seeking a pardon and why you believe the governor should grant you one. Once you have spoken with the board and answered any questions that we have, you're free to log off the Zoom. You don't need to hang out in the hearing for the rest of the morning, and you can expect to hear back from the office on the outcome of your application in the next month or 2. You do need a majority support of board members present in order for your application to advance to the governor, who will decide to either accept or reject that application. And again, either way, you'll hear in about a month or 2 from today's hearing. So I'm going to quickly introduce our board members and then we will dive in with hearing from applicants. So board members with us today, we have Mr. Anthony Cooper Sr., who is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He received a pardon from Governor Evers in 2021. Board member Reverend Jerry Hancock is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He also previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and an administrator at the Department of Justice. Board member Judge Jeffrey Kremers is Attorney General Call's nominee to this board. He served as Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge for 26 years, including as Chief Judge for 7 of those years, and retired in 2018. We also have Reverend John McVicker Sr., who is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee. He serves as board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is a chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. Board member Cindy O'Donnell served as Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Laudenschlager and Van Hollen. Board member Nadia Perez-Reyes is the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Children and Families. She previously worked as a state public defender and as an attorney at Legal Action, Wisconsin. Board member Myrna Warrington is the Director of Vocational Rehabilitation on the Menominee Indian Reservation. She is a U.S. Army veteran and has been a member of the Menominee Tribal Legislature for over 15 years. And finally, board member Noble Ray served as the Madison Police Department's chief from 2004 to 2013, after serving with the department for almost 28 years in total. He also led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative, and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the country and around the world. Finally, I'm Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers, and would like to welcome all of our applicants and board members to the next session of our hearing. So we will go ahead and get started. Our first applicant is Mr. Sha Oberly, and we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Oberly. We cannot hear you. Looks like you need to unmute.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
That was my first time Zooming. I don't know.
You're doing great.
Yeah, so my offense was distribution of methamphetamines. My sentence went good. I screwed up one time and got an OWI during it and sat another 60 days in jail in 2006, but since then I ran the family farm from 2003 to 2014 when we sold the cows. Now I do crop farming with my dad, and I own my own logging business since 2015. I've been logging and crop farming for 9 years now. I was hoping to get a pardon so I can go back to fishing to Canada and hunting with the family and stuff again. I don't know, what else do you need?
Well, why don't we see if we have any questions from board members for Mr. Oberly? Judge Kremers.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the specifics of the crimes that you committed? Because there were 2, one in Eau Claire County and one in Chippewa County. Tell us a little bit about what you were involved in and how that happened.
Basically, I was young and I was addicted to meth. And I think most of the crimes come because I had a nice vehicle and I was driving people around that were actually selling it. So it's kind of how it stemmed to putting the distribution in there. I was, it's kind of how it went.
Okay.
Other questions for Mr. Oberly? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Oberly, we've been doing these hearings on Zoom for the last 3 years, and people log in from various places, but where exactly are you now? Where are you coming from?
I'm in my machine and working in the woods in the Marathon County Forest.
Okay, what kind of machine is it?
It's a forwarder. I pick up wood and put it in a pile.
Okay. Thanks. I think this is the first time anybody's come on from a logging machine. So thank you for that.
Anthony, question from you.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, and please forgive me if just in case I didn't hear you say this. How long have you been clean and sober?
I've been clean and sober from 2004-ish, I think.
Awesome.
All stems, wasn't for my family, I probably would have been dead or in jail or prison or something. My family stuck by me the whole time, and I got through it because of them.
Did you go through any treatment or anything of that nature also?
I went into treatment, but I wasn't ready for treatment at the time, and I kind of was in there for 10 days and went out outpatient. I wasn't ready at that time. No, I just basically did it to family, support.
Yeah. All right. Well, great job. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Oberly? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Oberly. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And as I said, you're welcome to log off the Zoom and enjoy the rest of your day, whether that's logging or doing anything else. And you can expect to hear from us in about a month or two.
All right, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Mr. Charles Craig Schachting.
Nice job.
Is that right?
It's pretty close. So Charles
Okay.
Craigie Secting. So yeah, should I jump right in there, or do you want to? Okay.
Please do.
So good morning. I was going to introduce myself, Charles Craigie Secting. I just wanted to say I'm really grateful to meet with you folks today. I'm here seeking a pardon for 2 felony burglary convictions in 2001 that I pled guilty to. I did work with an attorney, Eduardo Castro, on preparation of this application. He is in the Zoom room today in full support of this. So the questions, the 3 questions, I guess, and I'll read them because I think they have merit. Brief summary of my offense and how my sentence went. So I struggled with active addiction running my life from 15 to 22 years old. I could not use successfully without committing crimes. In April of 2000, this specific offense, a few high school friends and I were out eating lunch. We were actively using at the time. One of them suggested the idea of getting more money for drugs by robbing a couple of homes. We ended up following through with that plan and burglarized 2 homes. Approximately a year later, I pled guilty to the 2 felony burglary charges. I was still in active addiction for about 4 years. I was bouncing in and out of jails, continuing to commit misdemeanors and so on. As a last step resort from my probation agent, she gave me an opportunity to do an alternative to revocation in a prison setting, which included AODA treatment. The specific program was called the DART program at Oak Hill Prison. During that program, I gained a new perspective on my life, and I have been clean and sober ever since I was granted that ATR. Things that I've done since the completion, or the second question that's asked, completion of the sentence, including community involvement and employment. The first thing I like to emphasize is I've been clean and sober for 19 continuous years. So that's been a huge thing for me, and I, attribute that to all of my successes. I continue to make the most of my opportunities in sobriety. I like to be active within the recovery community, the lives of others, my own life, my family life. All of that stuff is very important to me. I've been very active specifically in the recovery community, sharing the word basically of the benefits of staying clean and sober, and what it gets you. I've been able to participate one-on-one with sponsorship of others. More in a group setting. I've spoke at numerous recovery functions in the state. I've taken recovery meetings into the Dane County Jail, which was a really good learning experience and very humbling. I've been able to go to several different state prisons. These were both as a member of Narcotics Anonymous, and then additionally, I was asked by my probation agent to basically go in and talk about my life and how I changed it. So that was a really cool opportunity. As far as employment, I've had 4 consistent long-term jobs since 2004. Immediately upon my release, I started working for a plumbing contractor and got a plumbing apprenticeship. I became a journey worker with them. There was lots of traveling, so I decided to switch companies after I got that journey workers card. Went to a company, worked for them for 6 years. I'm a very curious person, and I like to know why things work the way they do. So I, picked away at plumbing and why does it, behave the way it does, I guess. And that actually led me to my current place of employment, where I teach full time in the plumbing apprenticeship program at Madison Area Technical College. It's a really good job. I enjoy it a lot. I get to touch a lot of apprentices statewide, so that's really cool. After a short time at Madison College, I was still having a lot of my previous customers, because I was doing service work for 6 years, reaching out, asking if I could continue to do their plumbing. It was at this time that I decided to open up my own plumbing business. Additionally, I teach cross-connection control courses that are offered by the University of Wisconsin-Madison Engineering Department. The students in these courses vary from professional engineers to waterworks operators to cross-connection control surveyors and licensed plumbers. So that's kind of a cool thing, and I get to branch out even more into the community and do that kind of stuff. Additionally, I've participated in several plumbing code council meetings. These are both on a local and national level. A lot of them have to do with designing plumbing systems. There hasn't been a lot of updating of plumbing engineering stuff since the 1930s, so we end up oversizing a lot of things. I go around to a lot of different locations, such as high schools, boys and girls clubs, Centro Hispano, community centers, and this is on a yearly basis and part of my service to the college, promoting apprenticeships and, the Wisconsin Technical College system. Another thing I do at the Madison College is I'm one of the people that have been selected to participate in the student ambassador for the Wisconsin Technical College system. So I'm able to actually nominate a person from Madison College. Actually, let me back up. I look at the nominees from Madison College and then make a determination on, who should be our representative at the state level. The third question, and I guess why I'm here today, why should I receive a pardon? So I'd like to advance my career at Madison College. One of the steps to that process is getting more educational background and advanced degrees. I know colleges aren't supposed to, discriminate and look at a person's past. However, I would hate to have a barrier put between me if they did look at my felony convictions. Another reason would be bonding insurance. So in order to participate in federal, state, and county plumbing jobs, it's often required that you have bonding insurance. Anytime I've spoke to an agent about getting bonding insurance, they simply say because I have felony burglaries, I would not be eligible for this insurance. And then kind of the whole reason I'm here. So I applied for, I'm going to need just a second. I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Man, I practice this and here we are anyways, but so I applied for my kid to volunteer at her school, and they said no because I'm a felon. And I've embraced this my whole life. I tell everyone who I am. I tell them about my past, and then I have a very flexible job, and they won't allow me to go into her school and participate as a classroom volunteer. So it just has been, absolutely devastating. It's hard. It's super hard to explain to her. You know what I mean? Like, she just doesn't understand how other parents can go in and I'm not allowed to. So yeah, that's my whole reason, in all honesty, why I'm here. I mean, the other stuff is immaterial, but I really want to participate in her life. And it's been a hindrance. So I apologize. Like I said, I tried to go over this several times so I wouldn't get too emotional, but I guess it just doesn't happen. So I think that's it. I guess I I'm ready for questions. Hopefully you have some.
Thank you, Mr. Craig Secting. Questions from the board? Judge Kremers.
Hey, good morning, sir. It looks like in 2004, you were charged with a battery, and as part of that, there was a no contact order issued through the date of sentencing, at least. What was that battery? What did that battery conviction involve? Who was the victim? What was the situation?
Yeah, so I was convicted of a misdemeanor battery. That is correct. Domestic. So again, I was using, my girlfriend came over, her and her, I shouldn't even call her my girlfriend. We broke up. So her and her new partner came over, and there was some pushing and shoving between her partner, her new partner, and her and myself. So I was pushing, shoving, and she ended up falling on the ground, and then that created a no contact order.
And were you on probation at the time?
Correct.
Is that why you got the ATR?
Yes. So you have my whole history there. So, I would go approximately a year, and then the wheels would kind of come off of who I was because I was using, and I would commit another crime, end up in jail, or, whatever it might be, get clean for a short period of time, go back to using, and then have continued problems legally.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Questions from other board members? Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us this morning, share your story. I know that it can be difficult. You're certainly not the first person to get emotional, so please don't feel bad about that. And as I said, you're welcome to enjoy the rest of your morning. You don't need to hang out on the Zoom, and you can expect to hear about the outcome of your application in about a month or two.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well. Our next applicant is Michael Hack. Mr. Hack, we're ready to hear from you.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, my name is Michael Hack. Good morning, board. Let me explain what happened. I was 17 years old in high school in 1979. My dad discovered he had a tumor on his ear canal. So him and my mom went to California, and they were out there to have diagnosis, surgery, and rehab. And while they were out there for that 3 months, my sister, who was 18 at the time, the neighbors or my mom would come back to check in on us for the 3 months. Well, that's when I got into trouble. I hung out with the wrong people. We were out at night, no supervision. So my first count was theft, party to crime of theft. We were out my friend's car driving around. There's a couple snowmobiles on a trailer in a driveway. He backed the car in. I got out with the other people. I hooked up the trailer and we stole the snowmobiles. And then we just drove on, took him to his house. My second count was entering a building with an intent to steal, party to a crime of theft. And that happened, same person. He lived next to a park. We were just out doing whatever. And there was a storage shed where the park would keep their tools and things like that. So we entered the building. We took some tools, we took some magazines, some coins, and that's what happened there. I was sentenced to three years probation, 6-month jail stayed term, and restitution. I apologize that my sentencing to my parents, the victims, and the judge for my crimes. After I served my probation, I went to Waukesha County Technical College. I get a degree, associate's degree with honors in auto servicing. I've been a master auto mechanic ever since. I was married. I raised 3 children, all in the same community. Now they are successful adults with their families in the same community. I supported my community by just being a father, raising my kids. I did the fundraisers. I did where I picked up the garbage on the side of the road in the spring. I did the food drive. I picked up food, the pantry. I did all that for all that. And since I've been a mechanic for 41 years now, it's a physical job. And I'm looking to do something else in my career. And with a pardon, it would give me an opportunity to pursue any job now that I could possibly want without any restrictions. I've been thinking about doing teaching. I've even been thinking about doing something in my community, like the town board. I love where I live. I've been here my whole life. My family's still here. So I was only 17 at the time. It's 43 years ago. How I lived my life since then, I hope I can see that I've earned a chance to receive a pardon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. I just have one clarifying question before I turn it over to the other board members.
Yes.
In your application, we ask if you've ever been convicted of other crimes, and it looked like you marked yes to that, but didn't provide any information about them. Could you just tell me a little bit about that?
In this time, there were other theft crimes, but they were dismissed at the time.
Got it.
Just-
Okay, so you were not convicted of those.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Other board members, questions for Mr. Hack? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Hack, wasn't one of those theft crimes that was dismissed to Ernie von Schlehorn's auto dealership?
It could have been from a car. I'm not exactly sure what that one. There was many of them in there, and I don't remember exactly every one.
But you eventually ended up working for them, right?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hack? All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today, Mr. Hack, and telling us about your application. You're free to enjoy the rest of your morning. You don't have to hang out with us, and you can expect to hear one way or another about your application in about a month or two.
I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Sarah Glyro. Ms. Glyro, I think I saw you. There you are.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I just want to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity to be here today. My name is Sarah Limeler. I just recently got married. 33, I work purchasing and production coordinator. Little backstory, I was 4 years old and my parents had given me up to move in with my grandparents. At the age of 12, I think that started having a negative effect on my life. My parents were local but didn't want anything to do with me. So throughout my teenage years, I was very troubled. The day I had been arrested, I'd been at the fair with my father drinking. I was only 18, but I thought that this would make me feel loved by him in some sort of way to spend the day hanging out with him. I was highly intoxicated, ended up blacking out in a porta potty. He never came to look for me. I was actually awakened by a police officer, treated him very poorly, gave him a hard time, swearing at him, threatening, made his job completely difficult, makes me sick to my stomach for having to admit that I did spit on him a couple of times. I was sentenced to probation. While on probation, I was street racing and ended up hitting a tree. I was scared because I was on probation, so I called my car in stolen and then later lied to the police officer and said I did not remember calling my car in. So then I was charged with obstruction and my probation was revoked. Being sentenced to jail was a turning point in my life. I completed my sentence and then completed probation and then continued to live my life one day to be able to earn an opportunity like this. I stopped allowing my childhood to consume me, started taking responsibility for my actions and stopped blaming all my misfortunes on it. I realized my life was only going to be what I allowed it to be. I have worked very hard to be where I'm at today, got a great job, own my home, recently married, have two beautiful daughters. I'm always there to help friends and family whenever I can. Part of my reasoning for asking for a pardon is so I could be more involved with my daughters. I would love to chaperone a field trip or help out in their classrooms or even coach their cheer team. I am unable to do that with a felony conviction. Another reason for wanting a pardon is for my career growth. I am truly grateful to be where I'm at today. I never thought I would be where I'm at, but my growth doesn't end here. I had originally went to school for human services. I hope to be a social worker so I can help out other children. But once I received a felony, that was no longer a reality. I've had many unsuccessful job attempts to get where I'm at today. If I do receive this pardon, it would mean a lot to myself and my family. I will be able to show up for my daughters even more, and I would be able to continue to build my career without any limitations holding me back. Again, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity. Sorry, I'm really nervous.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Just one question for you. You said that jail was a turning point for you, and obviously your offenses were involved alcohol, but I see that you completed AODA. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with alcohol now?
We don't drink in our house. We don't really drink. We do occasional toast at New Year's or Christmas dinner, champagne, but otherwise alcohol is not really involved in our lives or in our home.
Thank you. Other questions from board members? Myrna, I'd say unmute.
Yes, thank you. Did you make amends or apologize to that officer?
Yes, ma'am. I wrote a letter to the officer.
You did. Did you supply it to us? No?
I didn't receive a copy of the letter that in my court file, so I don't have a copy of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy.
Yeah. How old are your daughters now?
5 and 10.
Okay. So a lot of activities, school and others.
Yeah, we do cheer, we do tumbling, piano lessons. Yes.
And on, I'm sure. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Nope. All right. Thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate you sharing all this with us. And as I mentioned, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. You're free to enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Our next applicant is Jerry Simonson. I believe I saw Mr. Simonson. Mr. Simonson, do you go by Butch? I'm sorry, I have Jerry as your first name.
I'm not hearing anything.
Can you hear me now? Mr. Simonson, can you hear us?
Code followed by the pound sign.
Oh, Mr. Simonson, we can hear you. I don't think you need to call in if that's what you're attempting to do.
I don't think he can hear us.
All right. We'll work and see if we can get some tech issues sorted out with Mr. Simonson. If you can hear us, someone will give you a call from my team shortly. All right, so while we sort out tech issues, we'll move on to Mr. Charles Duval. Mr. Duval, if you are on the Zoom, we're ready to hear from you. Mr. Duval, if you are the 920 phone number. No, okay. All right, let's see. I got a message. Looks like Mr. Simonson, are we ready? Are things working on your end now?
Yeah, I can hear you now over my phone. My
perfect.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Great. Well, we'll turn it over to you then.
All right. I'm here today. Thank you for having me again. As for failure to pay child support years ago, for both of my sons, did my jail time, did my 4 years probation with no incidences at all. Everything went pretty smooth. Been working full-time job ever since. Even opened up a snowplow business on top of that. Other than that, not really much to say, except it's, you know, it's a very unexcusable offense of what I did. And if I could go back in time and take it all over, do it all over again, I definitely would. I feel horrible for what I did. Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any questions for me. I'm kind of new at the Zoom thing. Sorry about that.
Seems like you got it figured out. So all good there. Board members, do you have questions for Mr. Simonson? Judge Crummers.
So how old are your sons now?
31 and 33.
And do you have a relationship with them?
Yes, my youngest son I talk to quite frequently. Unfortunately, my oldest son, not so much. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with what I did years ago.
Okay. Did you pay back all the unpaid child support?
Yes, sir. Everything's been paid off in full, interest, everything.
And when you say if you could do it all over again, you would do it differently, what would you have done differently given that your explanation for this was you lost your job?
I tried going into work for myself. I should have known better. I should have been thinking about my kids first and their mothers, you know, and how badly they needed the money. I should have just continued to work full time for somebody else and did my obligation and paid my child support.
And I also note that in 2018 and again in 2019, it looked like there were harassment restraining orders issued against you. What were those about?
I've never heard anything about them.
Okay. And sometimes the records, I mean, your name is not that uncommon, so it's possible that it's somebody else, but there were just two of them listed, both from Columbia County. Do you know anybody in Columbia County?
Nope, I'm just from Jefferson County.
I know. Doesn't mean you don't know somebody there.
Oh, sure.
As far as you know, you've never had any kind of a civil or criminal case in Columbia County?
Nope, nothing at all.
Okay. And let's see. I think those were my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Simonson?
Yes.
No. All right. Looks like that's it. Thank you very much, Mr. Simonson. Appreciate your time today. And as you've probably heard me tell others, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. You're welcome to enjoy the rest of your morning.
All right. Thank you. You guys all have a good day.
You as well. All right. Mr. Duvall is next on our agenda, but I don't believe he has been logged into the Zoom yet. So we will come back to Mr. Duvall if we get him. And we will proceed to Mr. Robert Smith. Mr. Smith.
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Thank you.
All right, good. My name is Robert Smith. I'm 37 years old, and I'm seeking a pardon for knowingly possessing methamphetamine waste. 2006, February 2006 is when I got charged with it. I was basically, the house was raided I was in, doors got kicked in, and I was a drug addict from time I was around 9th grade all the way to 22 years old. And they kicked in the doors, and basically I blamed their citizen informant. I blamed everybody else but myself, and was not very cooperative with the police, and they took me to jail. And during that time, I had a girlfriend who was pregnant with my firstborn son. So I knew I was looking at some serious time, and I was on probation already for possession of THC with attempt to deliver and contributing to truancy and delinquency of a child. So things weren't going very good for me. During that time in jail, I sat about 6 months in there, and I pleaded guilty to the lesser of charge for manufacturing to possession of waste, which was the felony I'm seeking a pardon for. And then I was also a misdemeanor of attempted possession of amphetamine. And basically, I got 3 years probation and 377 days in the county jail. During that time, I began to cry out to God. I've heard the gospel many times before that, and I cried out to God, got out. I actually got released early from my sentence because in my opinion now, as a coward, I worked with the police and felt it was the right thing to do, but I can look back now as just a way to get off my charges. I got off a little early, and then I began going to church, had my son. Make a real long story short, I quit doing drugs, but I kept drinking. I smoked pot one time when I first got out. I didn't do it again for almost 3 years. And then I ended up getting mind problems. I had OCD, every kind of problem you can imagine I started having in my mind. And then I ended up in 2008, I got arrested again I was drinking alcohol, and my girlfriend, who's the mother of my son, dumped my alcohol down the drain, and I got really angry. And I threw her on the ground, screamed at her, yelled at her, and the neighbor called the cops. I ran out the window. They came, they arrested me. I was on a probation hold, and I got 90-day alternative to revocation. And then during that time, you'd think my mind would get better. It got worse. Got out in September, and it wasn't too long. I gave up on going to church, gave up on God, gave up on trying to do better. I just couldn't take the things in my mind, went back to drugs, went back to alcohol, and every kind of wicked thing you can imagine. And I was back in jail by December 11th, 2008. During that time, I was brought to the absolute end of myself. I couldn't save myself. I couldn't make myself right. And then I got out May 23rd, 2009, and I moved in with a chaplain who ministered to me over the years. And during that period of time, I learned obedience. I got put it underneath this man. I stayed there. I worked with him. I struggled with him. I struggled with myself. And in June of 2009, I got born again. I gave my life to Jesus Christ. And after that, the only mishap I've had with drugs at all was during that time. I remember I hurt my back, maybe back in 2010 or 11. I got prescribed Vicodin. And I remember one day my back wasn't hurting that bad, and I took one when I didn't need it, and I caught it immediately. I never did it again. I've been sober May 23rd, 2009 to now. During my time from then to now, I got born again. I became part of a church. I'm married, and I have 8 children. The one with the girl that I got in trouble with, and I got married, and I've had 7 children with her. I worked at a sawmill, basically bagging sawdust. Did that for about 5 years, hurt my back. They let me go. I wasn't the best employee there, but I was definitely improving. And since then, I think it was 2014, I got hired where I'm at even right now today. And I became the manager here for 4 years. It's called Weber Custom Fab. It's a fabrication business and metal fabrication shop. I've been working here for over 9 years. I was the manager for 4. I am now the assistant manager underneath a new manager, and we work together, and they're allowing me to do this here today. So I did 52 weeks of meth prevention, AODA. I'm pretty sure it's so long ago. I'm pretty sure I completed the meth program because I don't think they would let me off probation otherwise. I've paid all my fines. Why do I deserve or want a pardon? To be honest with you, I'm not saying this just to say it. When I became a Christian, when I got born again, it wasn't because I earned it or deserved it. It was because of mercy. And I'm here today asking for mercy. I broke the law. I did what I did. I don't deserve it. But I think my life has shown that I'm not living the way I used to live anymore. My life has changed, and I want a pardon simply to glorify God. I got an HSED since then. I want to be an example to my children, and maybe my kids would want to go hunting. Maybe I would get a gun and go hunting, but I don't really like guns, but I guess I would do it. I like to eat deer. But otherwise, it's just another opportunity to be made free. The Bible says, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. That's why I'm here. And I just thank you for this opportunity and hearing me out on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. One question from me. You mentioned that in May of 2009, that was the beginning of your sobriety. And I noticed you disclosed an arrest in 2009 that I'm guessing was before May, but can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
I actually have written down right here, and I called the county here a while back. That should have been 2004. That was a mistake on my end. I have not been in any trouble outside of I think I got a ticket once, but no criminal activity. I screwed up on that. And my record will show that I've not been in any criminal charges or problems since May 23rd, 2009.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So I have the 2004 arrest is showing up in your record, so that's the same thing.
It was my mistake.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That clarifies it for me. Other questions from the board? Noble.
Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
Just a question. If you were not to get a pardon, how would that affect your life going forward?
To be totally honest with you, it doesn't really affect my life. I just want to do it because it's an opportunity to be made free from it and to clear my past. God has already forgiven me for it, but I really want that just to glorify God even more, so that it's just another step in my walk with Him. It wouldn't change anything. Like I said, maybe I could go hunting with a gun, and I wouldn't mind doing that, but it's really, I would live with it or without it. It's okay either way. My children would like to go hunting, but I guess I could get a crossbow and try that. But otherwise, it doesn't affect my life, to be honest with you. And I mean, no disrespect to say that at all. I just want to glorify God.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Smith, the district attorney in Rusk County strongly supports your application. How does that make you feel?
It makes me praise God, because I've been through the ringer with Rusk County because of my sin, because of the things I've done in my life. And so when I read that as well, and I've read it over a few times, and it makes me feel really thankful, because I have to give all the glory to God. I tried to be sober. I tried to do these things. I've been to rehab. I've been to the mental institute, and nothing did it. But Jesus Christ did do it. And I praise His name. And so I am thankful she wrote that. And I just glorify God again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Smith? None. All right. Mr. Smith, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today and sharing all of your information. Hope that you enjoy the rest of your morning. As I mentioned, you don't need to hang out in the hearing, and you can expect to hear about the status of your application in about a month or two from our office.
All right. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you. All right. I think I have not seen Mr. Duvall join the Zoom yet. So we will go ahead and proceed to John Curran, who I believe has joined us by phone.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, good morning. How are you all doing?
Great. And Mr. Curran, am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I guess you need a kind of a summary on what happened back in '94. That's the only thing I've ever gotten on my record. The girlfriend I had back then, we were actually engaged, and her daughter, who was 14, got mixed up with some people that were taking her away for, 2, 3, 4 days at a time, and her mother didn't know where she was. But once she would get returned by these two gentlemen that were both over the age of 18, she was coming home on, I can't tell you what it was, but she was like out of it. And she tried going through the police department in Jackson, Wisconsin here, and trying to get something done about it, but they could never come up with anything. It just was a dead end kind of. They, never found out, anything about these guys, or, when she was actually missing. And So at the time, I mean, this was going on for quite a while. And finally I thought, well, maybe I can do something to, keep these guys from picking her up. And I went over to the house one day when we knew that they were going to be there, because they would usually come. I lived in Milwaukee at the time, and she lived in Jackson, and she had a sneaky suspicion that they would be there. And we went there, and I went there to basically let them know that, this isn't going to continue on. Whatever you're doing with a 14-year-old girl for days on end, and then returning her on some kind of drugs, this has got to stop. It kind of got out of control. I was told by my girlfriend that the one gentleman was a felon and has been in all kinds of trouble for things. And very stupidly, I took a gun along just in case. Basically I took it to show them that I meant business, that I didn't want to see him anymore. And that's pretty much, I warned them guys. Matter of fact, they tried running me over with their car with her in it. They heard us trying to, when we unlocked the door, they all ran out, and they took her with them into their car. And I had to jump in front of the car so we could get Jemmy was her name, out of the car and away from these guys. Well, what I did is I pulled a gun to make them stop when they were trying to drive at me. And one of the neighbors or whatever must have seen what was going on, and they called the police, and didn't take them long to get there, that's for sure. And needless to say, I let them go, let them, know that, don't ever come back here again. And the police came, and I got arrested. And, the whole story of this, I've never been in any trouble, 35 years prior, and haven't been in any trouble 30 years after. But the main goal of that whole thing was to keep a 14-year-old girl from, possibly getting pregnant or getting addicted to drugs. And because she was going to be my daughter. And actually she was the favorite of my girlfriend's 3 kids. And yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely not, take any gun or anything like that. That was the stupidest thing I think I've ever done in my life. And I haven't done anything since. I mean, I learned my lesson on this one. I guess I really never stopped to think of what kind of trouble you can get in. Let's see, as far as, I worked a number of jobs since, for a number of years, including customer service at auto dealerships as a service advisor. I was a guy that would, get your car, you bring it in, I'd get the information from you, dispatch the car to a technician and get it fixed, or, call you back with whatever the estimate was. I also worked in parts at these dealerships. Eventually got into factory work again, which I did years and years ago. And I got an opportunity to come in as a lead man at this company I worked at for like 4.5 years, I think it was. And I got to run a department, which was, finally starting to get somewhere, worked a number of other jobs, or a couple other jobs in printing and et cetera. And the last job I was at, I came in as a machine operator. And after, I think it was like 2.5 years, I worked into a supervisor over the whole shop. And pretty much after that is when we got into COVID. I have some issues with where I'm on a couple of inhalers, and I have am susceptible to getting COVID very easily with the lung problem. So I decided to retire early, I didn't know how long it was going to last. And at 62, I finally was able to get Social Security. Unfortunately, it's not enough really to live on, and I probably need to get another part-time job. But with this thing on my record, it's just such a nightmare to have to explain this, to each and every place you go to, and and in hopes that they understand what I tried to do, was to save and protect a 14-year-old girl from two gentlemen that were over, the age of 18. So that's where I'm at on that. As far as what I've been, personal growth, once I got into that lead position at that one flexographic company, I was finally able to make, enough money that I was finally able to buy a house. I've been a proud homeowner now for over 16 years. I'm in a relationship with my girlfriend now. We've been together for like 13 years. And the only kids we have are her two little dogs, which I love to death. And that's pretty much where I am right now. I'm just kind of a homebody right now. We don't go to bars or anything like that. Not that it had anything to do with what I did. But like I say, it's been 35 or 30 years since, and 30 years prior, I haven't had any trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Curran.
And the pardon would help me a lot, like I say, to just clearing my name so I don't have to, explain that. The other thing is I have relatives that are in Germany, and, being a felon, it's pretty hard to get, to be able to leave the country. And I've got friends of mine that I've known since high school. They go to Canada every year, and I'm never able to go with them because of all the strings that need to be pulled to do that. And I've been a avid hunter since I was 12 years old when I passed my hunter safety school. And this last 30 years of not being able to go, deer hunting with all my friends and duck hunting and goose hunting has just been, it's been like a jail sentence for me. It's just been horrible. It's just every time hunting season comes, I get depressed. Needless to say, I mean, I would love if I could, I'm 65. I wish I could, go. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to go. I mean, I'm short-winded, but I'd sure like to go here, here in the future as long as I could. I love venison, eating ducks and grouse, and I just love that whole thing. And it's just been missing from my life for 30 years. And
thank you, Mr. Curran. I don't want to cut you off.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we get to any questions that board members have for you.
Okay.
So let me just pause here and ask if there are questions from board members. Reverend Hancock.
I have two questions. Mr. Curran, what happened to the girl?
Her 14-year-old daughter?
Yep.
Well, she grew up just fine. Matter of fact, we were together for probably another 4 or 5 years afterward, and we ended up going our separate ways. I do hear from her once in a while. She does taxes for H&R Block, and I've gone over there to have my taxes done, and she's doing very well. She's got kids. She got married. She got away from all that, stuff that she was doing back when she was 14. But like I say, she was forced into it then.
Well, I have another question too, that
okay.
The district attorney of Washington County supports your application. How does that make you feel?
Very good. I saw that letter and I was just ecstatic. Somebody finally maybe took a look and, they see I've gone 30 years with nothing. And, I hope that they, I just, like I say, flabbergasted by it. It just made me feel so good.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for board members? None? All right. Thank you, Mr. Curran. I appreciate your time today and you sharing your story with us. We'll let you log off the Zoom and enjoy the rest of your morning. As I stated to some other applicants, you can expect to hear on the outcome of today's hearing and your application in about 1 to 2 months.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, so that's the last applicant of our morning session. We will pick back up in open session at 1 o'clock to hear our afternoon applicants. But at this time, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 19.85 sub 1A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning cases before the board, including specific applications, financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Do I have a motion? Anthony, do I have a second? Seconded by Judge Crummers. All right. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Great. At this point, then we will move into closed session, and board members, I'll just ask you to give me a moment to make sure our live streaming has stopped and that the applicants are out of the Zoom.